Hello and welcome to Sunrise Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known as Crease Collector. So, this was not initially on our outline as I was planning for this, but it is Hall of Fame induction night, so I figured that's a fairly notable thing to make note of, and I'll throw this up on the screen. But the one name that really stuck out to me among this class is a guy that I think a lot of people feel was long overdue to get his induction. That being Jeremy Roenick. I'll throw this card up here. If you guys saw the in the game used case break from last fall, you might remember this card that I'm showing now that is very appropriately named Hall of Fame Caliber. It was an insert set that Greg Cohn with Leaf came up with, highlighting players that at that point in time were not yet in the Hall of Fame, but he thought, oh, they probably deserve consideration, if not outright induction. So Roenick was in that set, and I was fortunate enough to pull one of those cards. So just a cool card, and figured, it's induction night, and JR, among others, are going in. So figured it'd be a cool way to start the show tonight. So there's that.
That's a great card. I mean, I was listening to just a radio talk show here, the Fan 590, if there's any, Toronto listeners here, this last week. And they actually had JR on for an interview, and they were talking about exactly that, like guys who, for whatever reason, just were not in the Hall of Fame. And they very well should have been by a lot of people's, standards. And, it was interesting hearing him talk about it because, you kind of hear the, same old when, guys get into the hall, like they're just kind of waiting for it. And, they get in. Maybe it took them a couple years. Maybe they didn't think they'd get in, but they sort of were waiting for it. And were, of course, very grateful. But, when listening to JR, it was kind of different. He sort of was kind of, in his opinion, sort of like outcast from the NHL, and hearing him just speak about the Hall of Fame and that sort of process, and the people kind of responsible for that, decision making. He sort of, I guess, had a lot of like ill will, kind of like deep in there still, a little bit. So it was nice to hear him like honestly explain that kind of process, and how he was kind of like just didn't really care much for the Hall of Fame, being like, those guys who make the decisions, I guess they don't want me in, so who needs them type of attitude. So it was really, quite candid, as much as he can get in, a couple minutes interview. But and then like obviously him getting a call, I mean, for him, it was something that was obviously a long time coming. You could tell it was really, personal to him. So to see a guy like that get in was awesome. And yes, and hearing his initial sort of reaction to it was really cool as well. Yeah, quite honest. That's what I kind of took from it. So yeah, good for him. Definitely well deserved. And like I said, long time coming, that's for sure. So very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, I know he had some media availability in Chicago shortly after getting the news, and he was telling the story about how he got the call, and I think at first, like, it was just like some Hall of Fame, like, automated thing. So he was like, oh, whatever, and like hung up or something. And then they called him back again and heard Laney talking, and kind of like immediately realized, like, oh, like, it's my time.
It's legit. Wow,
And
that's an interesting story.
he was in a Starbucks when he got the call, and he literally said, like, I'm standing in line at Starbucks and I just broke down crying.
No
And like
way.
the barista's like,
Wow,
so
that's
yeah,
interesting. I
pretty
didn't
cool.
hear that nugget of information. That's a great story. Yeah, it shows that how much obviously it means to him and any player. But I guess, the way he was, in his opinion, treated, it sort of, meant so much more to him, going through what he sort of had to go through all these years. And then eventually get accepted, by the NHL in a way, obviously meant a lot to him. So that was, yeah, I did not know that. That was a great little story there. So sure, the listeners would appreciate that. So yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, so congrats to JR, and then of course NHL fans obviously are well aware of Pavel Datsyuk and Shea Weber, kind of those two being the other NHL players that are going in tonight. So congrats to all 3 of them. So yeah, just figured it'd be fitting to start the episode off with a little bit of a Hall of Fame class tribute there. Quick shout out to Ryan from Perchy's Corner. We're going to be on his show on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys are not familiar with Ryan and his show, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss that episode with us Wednesday at 9 p.m. That'll be a lot of fun. We are looking forward to it. So yeah, as we typically do, before we kind of get into the main part of the episode, we'll start off with some mail. I will start off with mine just because mine is the kind of more quote unquote like boring of the 2.
It's never boring. It's always, a guess with some of the time. This time I think I know maybe half of them.
Yeah, one of the 2.
One of the 2. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it's never boring. It's always, at least for me anyway, and I'm sure the listeners, always keeping them on their toes. I really don't know what to expect from you. So it's just,
right.
It's always a mystery. It's great.
Indeed. That's how we like doing things around here. So I will start off with the first one. This is one that was really just kind of a trip down nostalgia lane, so to speak. And, just one that I saw on Facebook and just said, that's a beautiful card that I would love to add to my collection. Somewhat fittingly, it's from 0304, but it's actually not part of my project because it's technically a parallel. It's very similar to the basic version of the card, but it is in fact a parallel. So get rid of the overlay here so we can get a better look at the cards as we share them. So yeah, the first one that I will share is from 0304 Pacific Luxury Suite, a jersey patch out of 100 of Sergei Fedorov.
Nice, great set. I love that, and especially the colors there. Can't beat that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I distinctly remember that season thinking that Fedorov on the Ducks was just like the coolest thing. Part of that very well might be because I'm a Blackhawks fan, and him terrorizing the Blackhawks with the Red Wings for years was miserable. So maybe it was just the fact of, hey, he's finally gone. He's somewhere else. That's really cool. But I think also just like everybody loved those Anaheim Ducks jerseys, I guess Mighty Ducks at the time. Just of course the iconic ones, but I really liked the alternate jersey that he's wearing on this card here. The black.
I kind of forgot about those. Like when I saw the card, I'm like, their original jerseys were so nice. Like it almost like doesn't need an alternate, but you see those and you're like, it can get. I mean, I don't want to say better, but they can do that again where, you create 1-2 home and away, great. And then it's like, it gets even better in a way with an alternate, just more style, just awesome.
Yeah. So obviously, in my opinion, a very iconic product. It was obviously a one-off product the last year that Pacific, well, I guess not the last year that they had a license, but kind of the last non-lockout year that they had a license. And that was their highest end product of the year. And they just pumped so much quality memorabilia into that product. And so I just saw the card, the nice 2-color jersey, the nice 3-color patch with the layering, and obviously the green kind of pops off the card really nicely, and then you have the platinum blue foil. Just a beautiful card, and thought it was a very fair price. So I was just like, I'm just going to grab that card because that's a really sweet card. So definitely glad that I did. So that's my first one. And then the second one, this is the one that Aaron is already aware of.
Here we go. It's a nice one too.
It is. It's a cool card. It is from, I think it's from 1011. Let me grab it real quick here. I believe it's 1011 Panini Contenders, which if you guys were around in the hobby back then, you probably have fond memories of Contenders. It was a pretty well-liked product, bringing a historic brand line into hockey. And, with that came some pretty cool cards. This one, honestly, I think is just one of the coolest and nicest executed cards in recent memory. I guess if you want to call whatever 13, 14 years ago recent memory, but
we're getting old, but I'm not going to touch on that. I'm going to let you roll with that comment.
Yes. Yeah. It's certainly recent memory for sure. But it is from the Leather Larceny insert set. And again, if you guys are not familiar with that set, it is so awesome. They had just a base version, and then they also had an autograph version, as you see here, which is numbered out of 50 of Marc-Andre Fleury. And What is
Amazing.
really cool about these cards, obviously the photo, the design, all that is cool. And you can kind of see it a little bit on the scan there, but it's very apparent in person that the surface of the card is actually like a leather texture. So it's just a very cool, unique concept that was done really well. And I remember loving the cards back at the time. I know I had the Kari Lettinen one back in the day, and yeah, just a really really cool set. And again, like I said, there are non-autograph versions. So, and I think the checklist was maybe like 30 or 40 guys. It was fairly extensive.
Something like that. I remember I've never owned any of these cards, autographed or not, but I remember looking at those cards being like, I should maybe attempt this autograph set because how nice would that be? But I think yeah, I think the checklist was quite extensive, so it was something when at the time I just didn't want to pursue, but
Hmm.
they're so nice.
Yeah, so even if you have like a goalie that you really liked from back in that era, go check out that checklist. And if that goalie is on that list, make a point to just even pick up the base unsigned version, because they are really really nice in person, and you will not be disappointed. That's for sure. And I know, Aaron, after I picked this up and told you about it, you went out and bought the Flurry base version.
I did. It's not here yet, but hopefully soon. We'll see. But yeah, they're just so nice. I'll definitely throw that up on Instagram when I can. Yeah, just super nice cards. And when looking at the scan, you can't really tell. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't
it's
really zoom in
it's a
here,
little
but
tough.
you can't really tell. The leather sort of, um, you know, surface finish on that. So, for those looking around on eBay, depending on the scanner image, you might not be able to tell, but definitely, see these things in person, and they look like leather. It's as simple as that, but it just fits the set perfectly, and yeah, amazing.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of it
Yeah,
there,
like
but
like the little wrinkle there, but
again, it's very apparent in person. So, we've said it on the show a few times before, but it really is one of those cards where you just have to see it in person to truly appreciate everything that the card is. So, yeah, those are my two, and I will turn the floor over to Aaron because you have picked up a few pretty darn cool cards yourself of late.
definitely. So it's only two for me. I mean, excluding the expo stuff, right now it's only two as far as the recent mail days go. But with me, it normally circulates around one guy. You guys know who it is, but that's okay. And so, if I can bore you a little bit here, the first edition came all the way from Sweden, and it is if you've seen these posts on Instagram, you'll kind of know what I'm about to talk about. But it is from around this time, 2015. They're called the Fair Play and Respect Swedish playing card set. So I managed to pick this one up. It was a signed version. And then, again, I might bore you guys a little bit listening to this, but so the background on this set is that they released a 2006 deck of cards to kind of celebrate Sweden's recent Olympic gold medal win at the time. And they wanted to, and this was through their Ice Hockey Federation, who decided to release this playing card deck. And the purpose of these cards was to sort of educate their minor hockey teams. And so they have a little, Q&A on each card, kind of signaling various aspects of the sport and kind of what you should do in certain scenarios. And there's a right answer there, followed by some pretty hilarious, you know, incorrect answers when you translate them. So yeah, pretty cool. Like definitely, a really oddball set. And so a couple years ago, I was looking at the 2006 set in some detail, and I came across a listing where a player, it wasn't Enroth, but another Swedish player, and the uniform looked a little bit more modern. And when looking up the '06 set, I noticed that when going through a couple scans of these cards, I noticed, oh, I think I saw someone, I think it was like two of hearts or something like that. And then this random listing for this other card was also like two of hearts. So it kind of dawned on me that, oh, there must be another set. And I had never heard of it before. And the '06 set is pretty well documented, when you really search for it. So I kind of had to do some digging. And I found out that this, update set, if you will, was released in and around 2015. It could have been as early as 2012. I don't exactly know, but based on some documentation, it seems to be around 2015. So that's the data I'm going with. And so, similar thing, it was released through the Swedish Ice Hockey Federation, and this update set was released more so digitally, as opposed to the '06 set, which was physical. So they had this old, communication that I found, this old presentation that must have been given out or presented to various, minor hockey, teams and things like that. At I assume, must have been like an annual meeting or something, and it had a link to download the full set of cards. And I actually ended up not through that presentation, but finding that link that kind of gave, sort of like a, printing proof of the front of these cards. And so it kind of had some confirmation that, a full set exists, and this is pretty cool. And I did notice that there was an Enroth there. And so I actually went ahead and grabbed that, those printing proofs and sent it off to a, printing card manufacturer and kind of created my own little test set of this full, 52 card deck of cards. So that was kind of cool. And it kind of gave me sort of like a hybrid between like a legit card and a hybrid card, for my collection, which was nice. And so this one, like obviously being signed, is different from that. And so I picked this up from Sweden about 2 weeks ago. And so this one is actually from the physical set, which I did not know that they actually did that year. So, aside from it being signed, it is, slight difference between the one I had and the one I have now. So kind of cool, definitely something different. And yeah, definitely in the oddball, space as far as cards go. But I live for that stuff. I love that. It's something that years ago I probably wouldn't have appreciated. But, when the want list gets a little tougher, you'll take what you can get. And so, I think with cards like these, people either love them or hate them. But just the backstory on it that, the Ice Hockey, Federation kind of made this as sort of like an educational tool is just really cool for me. So, yeah, just pick that one up for the collection. And now we're kind of shifting over from oddball stuff that no one really cares about, except if you're me, to cards that are just kind of too big to ignore. So the next card is the literally, it's huge. So the next card is the 2024 butt end card, one of one, of course, of Jonas Enroth. So this one I picked up very recently, and I mean, yeah, it's on the screen now. Just look at that card, just super cool. And for those who have been, following along, Dr. Price released these cards not too long ago, and he's been slowly kind of adding to the set. I think as of right now, there's like, oh man, like probably over 60 or something like that. 60, 70 of these things. Yeah, like probably around 80, I'd say.
At least.
Yeah, like of these cards just kind of on his website there, and have already been sold as well. So just amazing cards. And for those who don't know, the end of the stick knob is sort of what these what this memorabilia set is based around. So yeah, it's too big to ignore. You can't store this on a top loader. You got to get those 100 count or whatever it is boxes to kind of store these things. And yeah, they're just absolutely massive, and they're definitely head turners for sure. So it's something that definitely breaks the wall down as as far as what can be put in a card. And it's definitely hitting those limits for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a picture there with how thick these things are, both the cardstock and the actual knob itself. I mean, the thing's just massive. So kudos to Dr. Price and the President's Choice team. They definitely created something so unique, and I love these cards. They're so cool. And yeah, I mean, just like, when have you seen anything like that before? You just can't. And I haven't officially got a photo match, but I place these around, yeah, exactly what the comments are saying. Wild cards, and I love it. Exactly. So that's exactly what you think when when you see these cards. So I haven't placed it 100%, but I believe it's around 2010, based on some pictures that I've seen. I may have, definitely a big maybe, but maybe a photo match this to his first NHL win. But that could be a little bit too far-fetched, but we'll see. But I guess
don't
you never
know.
really
It looked
know.
pretty
But
good to me.
it
It looked
looked
pretty good to me.
pretty good. There was the same, color, the same sort of shape of the tape, especially around the top of the knob, which doesn't happen often. There was a start of like a little bit of a hole, which you can see there. So, I mean, tape gets beat up all the time, so you never really know, but it looked pretty good. I'm going to publish a blog post about it probably towards the beginning of the month of December. So I'm gonna find some more pictures and post that up there. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. And I guess you can be the judge. Is it a photo match or not? So definitely a really cool card and truly one of a kind. So that's definitely the big feature on today's mail day, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm throwing the kind of
Yeah.
straight on image of it on. So take a good look at it right now. Burn into your memory kind of where the tape and the hole is and the little hole off to the side. So get that in your mind, and then I will throw up what we think and
Oh,
hope
you have it. Okay,
is
good,
the
good, good.
photo match. I will do that. So take a good look, and then I will throw up what we hope and think might be a photo match from Jonas's first NHL win. So again, it's
If you
hard to
kind of
see on this
zoom in,
screen.
I've zoomed in a little bit. You can kind of see there's a little hole starting up there, and it kind of wraps the same. I've kind of looked at it. The like one part of the wrap on one side is a little bit thicker, and then it gets a little bit thinner on that other edge. I guess you could say. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not 100% on it, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys can see where I have the pointer on the screen right here, you can see there's a little bit of a smaller hole there
Yeah.
off to the side, and then obviously the big one is much more apparent. But locationally, it does look right. So
Yeah, and when you look at like the way people usually wrap the knobs of the stick, they usually don't come on top of the knob. Usually not. But I guess he used some sort of like it's called the grip tape, where it doesn't last very long, but it's very I guess shapy, if you will. And it's a lot thinner than regular stick tape, and so it's almost like it can like collapse on things a little bit easier, like if you're trying to go around a paddle like an awkward angle. Or I guess I've never done it myself, but I guess the top of the knob there as well, you can sort of like close it down in on it, where tape usually wouldn't close down on it as smoothly, if that makes
mhm.
any sense. But yeah, anyway, so like kind of weird to see it kind of have that small circle on the top, where usually you would just leave the whole end of the knob kind of, I guess, bare like that. But yeah, so definitely a weird thing, like maybe some tape kind of started to come up a little bit and you just sort of stamped it down a little bit, but who knows. Definitely a weird one, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's almost kind of like the way I describe that tape is almost like gauze almost.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, the grip tape, it's very, it is kind of gauze like. But it's very sticky, and it's obviously grippy. So, I've used it a little bit on my own personal sticks, as a goalie, but I've never used it on the knob. But it seemed very similar. But anyway, so yeah, great card, and yeah, you can just see it right there. How it kind of has that, like almost like see-through aspect, on the top there, but I mean, it could be just regular tape, just kind of worn down a bunch, but who
No, I
knows?
think it's the grippier
A
like you're
grippy
talking
tape.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, really cool. And you see how like on the end of where the hole is, that sort of side of that tape is kind of like thicker, and then you get towards the like other end of the knob, and it's like a thinner kind of wrap, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's kind of what I noticed based on the photo versus the picture of this card here. So again, not 100%, but it's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing either way, but if it actually is from the stick that he used in his first NHL win, that definitely takes it to a whole other level. So,
Oh, 100%. Like I was just looking at pictures, like just trying to see what year the stick was used in. I was pretty sure it was around 2010. But just to get a picture of a knob on a stick, it's so hard to find, photos like that. Um, you know, so like just the fact that I was able to find a photo kind of looking right at it sort of is a feat in itself. So,
yeah,
I mean, hey, you be the judge.
for sure. So, yeah, obviously a beautiful card, and really glad that it was able to work out that you could pick it up. And welcome to the Bud End Club. I'm glad that you're able to experience them in person for yourself too.
100%.
So, Yeah, so that is that. And then turning over to the main part of the episode, I will let Aaron share all about his experience at the 2024 Toronto Fall Expo. Obviously, being in the area, you're able to go pretty much to every single show. So, which is something I am very jealous of. So, yeah, and it's always fun hearing your stories and seeing your pickups. So, I will turn the floor over to you, and you can tell us all about your expo experience.
Absolutely. So I actually ended up going only for the one day, unfortunately, but I kind of made up for it with some cards that I'm about to show. It's only two major ones. I kind of blew my budget on one card, so that is kind of the reason why I didn't go back for the second day. Plus we had some things going on over here. I wasn't able to, um, you know, dedicate the time as much as I thought I had that day, which was unfortunate. You know, life things come with up. It happens, but anyway. So, as far as the layout, a little different this year with the expo being in halls 2, 3, and 4. Usually it's in hall 5, and it might go a little bit into hall 4. There's like that dreaded kind of like hallway of death that that people they're kind of stuck in there. People are either on their way to get some food or just kind of like just passing by to get to a certain booth in the other hall. And sort of the hallway is sort of where everyone is just kind of jam packed and, people don't really stop as much. It's kind of like an afterthought and people are just there on the way to something else. So, I heard that the dreaded hallway was not going to be there this year. And I think for a lot of dealers, I think that was a really good thing. I noticed, even myself when I was walking the floor at the different halls, it all kind of blended into one. So it was really good that you were able to like get that full experience of the expo. And it was kind of like it made it kind of crazier in a way because there wasn't that sort of breakup. But, as far as like a dealer experience, I'm sure that there was a lot of foot traffic. It seemed like it, from my point of view, there was a lot of balanced, foot traffic as opposed to, you know, people in that hallway kind of getting left behind a little bit, or people in hall number 4 just getting, just sort of forgotten about because, wow, it's all the way down there and you got to go through all these people, the dealers that are kind of, I don't want to say not as desirable, but it seems like, maybe if you're in the back half of hall number 4, like maybe we won't really go down there for that. So yeah, it seemed a lot more balanced, I would say. So that was probably good. I mean, I'm gonna wait to see some dealer perspectives, but as far as my point of view, it definitely gave me the feeling that I'm walking like almost like in one hall, and you can experience everything in a much more, I guess, um, you know, simplified way, if that makes sense. So that was kind of my point of view on the layout, which was great. I do hope they return, to that next year, but we'll see, with availabilities and things like that. But overall, it was a great expo. Got to run into a couple people, not as many people as I would like. However, it was definitely, it's always good to see some people there. And, I did manage to see, I didn't participate, but I did manage to go by the signing area and I did see, one of my, you know, childhood heroes, Ed Belfour, at the signing table. And it was actually pretty cool because, there was a line, a large line starting to form roughly around 1 o'clock when he was supposed to do his signing. And then so a couple people, it was probably about a group of 5 of us or so, went into the line beside his table because there was no one signing at the time. So you could just sort of walk up to almost like the table beside his and just sort of wait for him and kind of see, you know, you know, as he comes out and start signing for people. So as I was waiting there, there's a bunch of people kind of coming out from behind the curtain, and I assume, okay, he's gonna, pop out there any moment. I guess we'll wait for him and stuff like that. But then this guy and Ed Belfort kind of like walk like right beside me, kind of like in front of all the other tables to get to his table. So, I'm sitting there waiting, like, oh, like, oh, person came out. Oh, is that him? Nope. All right, well, I'm just kind of waiting, like, trying to see behind the curtain. I guess, it's 1 o'clock. He's probably gonna come out of there like any second. And then just sort of like as I'm looking like this, you know, Ed Belfort just sort of comes and walks by me. I'm like, oh, like who's this guy walking? Oh, that's Eddie right there. And so that was pretty cool. Like having him like walk by us and oh, there he is, And then so that was great, and he just had the biggest smile on his face, just from the moment that it started. Loved signing for people and taking pictures with everybody and things like that. So, again, I didn't get anything autographed because it's not really my thing. It's something I have a lot of already. So, I just wanted to see the guy, and that was pretty cool. So, yeah, looks good. He looks like he can suit up and play tomorrow. So that's good. And it's good to know that he's in good spirits and everything like that. So that was a really cool moment. And so it kind of led to my first pickup actually. So after that little exchange there, for the memory bank, which was really cool, I went, shopping like through some bargain bins, and then I noticed there was a whole box dedicated to goalies. And they were nice and sorted by name, with little tabs. And so I went to the very large Belfour tab, and I was looking through some of the lots there. And one card caught my eye, and it was part of, I guess they were previously priced out, but I guess the guy threw together some lots and just kind of wanted them gone. So I picked it up for $5, two lots each for $5, which was great. And they were a lot of like 5 cards or something. You get like a jersey in each and a couple numbered cards for $5, and then I got another pack of those thrown in. Same thing, get a jersey card and a couple numbered cards, which is great. So I didn't really know the contents of these little packs, but it was just more bang for your buck, which is fantastic. But the main card in this was, and as soon as I show it, people are going to know exactly why I got it because they were really cool. I haven't really, pulled the trigger on any of these cards, but it's definitely lower end. Maybe these catch fire eventually and become very nostalgic, but I don't know. Maybe it's because we're heading into the holiday season, but this is from a 1999 2000 Pacific Revolution set. And, for those who don't know, I'm a big fan of Christmas. And so this fits the bill perfectly. It's from their Christmas ornament set. It is a legit uh, Christmas ornament. So, I mean, it's kind of goofy, but I saw that on the front of one of the lots and I'm like, oh man, that's perfect. I'm picking that up for sure. And I saw a gold label base card, class 2 on there on the other lot. And so I'm like, oh man, like I remember having a couple of those when I was younger. Not the Ed Belfour one, but yeah, just getting any of the gold labels, just they're amazing base cards. So, I figured, you know what, why not? I'll pick that one up too. And so I got both the lots for $5. So I mean that's fantastic. And you know, kind of low end, of course, but I mean that's just awesome. So when I start posting my Christmas posts on Instagram, those will be dead center there for sure. So I think that'll be the main Christmas feature. Just amazing. And it can't really see it on the scan there, but it's kind of tucked in behind. But you can actually see the string that you can hang it on your Christmas tree. So I'll be sure to do that this year. And yeah, just really, really cool. And yeah, definitely gimmicky, but that's what the 90s were all about. Just kind of screams 90s. And I'm a big fan.
I was going to say, everyone's dying to know, is it going to be on the tree this year? And you say yes.
Oh,
So
100%. It's going to be on the tree. It's going to be on there Christmas morning. And, I'm going to have to, keep an eye on it when we're taking the tree down, just to make sure it doesn't get crushed. But yeah,
you
it'll
could
definitely be on.
probably keep it in the top loader and just keep, like, pull the string
Honestly,
out the top.
now that you say that, you probably could. So that's, yeah, I mean, for those who can't really see it, yeah, there's like a little string in the back there. So, yeah. So I guess you could kind of keep it on the top, but that's probably a good idea. I might just end up doing that. So we'll see. But yes, that was. I mean, there's a couple good cards in there that are probably better than this one, but I mean, it's so cool. And I looked them up. A couple of them sell for a decent price. So I mean, again, maybe these will catch fire in a couple of years, but who knows?
And also cool with the crazy foil
Oh, it's crazy. Like when you
on the
when you
back.
see it in the light, it just dances. Yeah, definitely. Merry Christmas to me. That's fantastic. So it's great. And then the big pickup of the day, probably my biggest in a couple years as far as straight up cards go. And this one had a kind of a not a funny story attached, but I guess the aftermath of it was kind of funny. And Eric, yeah, I learned that you actually have this exact same card, which was awesome. I didn't know that until I picked this one up and kind of showed you, hey, like this is my main pickup, and it's not a goalie card, which would totally blow the minds of everybody.
The antithesis of a goalie card.
Yes, totally, 100%. So, it's something that I don't pick up often, player cards, but I mean, when you can get a player of this caliber, you know, GOAT level, you take it. So this booth had some very fair prices on some cards, and I was looking through some of their bins, and I'm like, it doesn't fit my bill, but I'm like, man, like, if I was, a reseller or something, I would just take this whole box. Like just their prices for things were just really, really fair, especially in Canadian dollars. It was great. So I found this card here and negotiated the price, which is always good. And I was surprised he went, as low as he did, considering you're going to get that sort of you know show sort of inflation on some prices, especially the expo. You're going to get some premium on a lot of things, which I guess you kind of know going into it, but especially on those big players. And you're seeing cards like this, or just anything with this person's name on it, just go for big money. So this is from the 2003-2004 Upper Deck SB Game Used Edition. It is the limited threads jersey card of Wayne Gretzky. So this card is numbered 47 out of 75. It is the Edmonton Oilers version. He does have one with the LA Kings and
the Rangers too.
And the Rangers. Okay, I wasn't sure. I looked this set up and I only saw the ones with the LA Kings listed. So yeah, so some really good cards here. But obviously the one with the Oilers is definitely special. I had a Gretzky game used card years ago, and I remember trading it away or selling it and getting some cards in return, for a card I really wanted at the time. And I don't regret the trade, but it's something where I'm like, man, like if I see a Gretzky game used card that I really like, especially one with the Oilers, to kind of reach that next level status, as far as Gretzky cards go, I'm probably going to take it. So yeah, I mean the price was right and just made sense. And yeah, I mean nice blue swatch there, and yeah, just such a great card. And I think Eric has the 42nd.
I think mine is 43 out of 75.
43.
And
Okay, so
47.
yeah, so I texted Eric a picture of this card, and he was like, I'm pretty sure I have that one. And then so he sent me a picture of his, and I'm like, that is amazing. So I guess we're Gretzky twins. So yeah, I mean, aside from Leaf, do you have any more Gretzky cards at all, like Gretzky memorabilia cards? I want to say yes, but I don't know which
So
ones.
one of the sets that I have been chipping away at for a
Right.
long time, and this isn't, I don't even like really publicize that I work on this set, kind of just because it's not a huge priority. But 99 2000 Black Diamond had an insert set called A
That's
Piece of
right.
History, which
Yeah.
had stick pieces, and Gretzky is in that. So I do have the stick card from that. Give you guys a little bonus mail day here. They got this one recently from that set of Joe Sakic, actually. So that's what
That's nice.
that's what the design looks like. So I have
It's
the
a
Gretzky.
great card. I love the gold. It's really nice. It's not
Yeah.
too flashy, but it's perfect. I think early 2000s, like things were kind of like a little bit muted in color, but definitely different and just amazing. Just something about that time period for cards. It was nice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what's kind of weird, and I've never really figured out why, but half of the cards in the set have a gold background and half have a silver background. No clue
Strange. Is
why.
it like I'm just thinking out loud, like maybe like a, not that Joe Sakic isn't good, but is it like guys who are just upper
Nope.
tier legends?
Gretzky has the silver background, so yeah, I have
Who else
never.
is in the silver?
Um,
Isn't Gordie Howe in that set? Is he silver?
he has a gold background.
A gold one. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, there's nothing I've ever been able to think of that would explain why.
It'd be interesting to
Um,
see, like, if you can send me like a checklist of like,
mhm.
or no, like I'll find the checklist, but just let me know
Like
like
who's what?
which
Yeah,
5 are silver, and I'm like, what's the connection?
yeah.
I don't know.
It's strange. I know.
That is strange.
Trying to think off the top of my head. Let me pull up. I have my outdated album that has some of the cards that I have. So Eric Lindros is gold, Howe is gold, Brodeur is gold, Korea is gold. Silvers, Gretzky, Solani, Iserman, Madano, John LeClaire. And then I've picked up a few more since I've
maybe like where they play, but I don't know, like conference.
Yeah.
I'm just spitting out loud.
Yeah,
I don't
weird.
really know. I don't really know.
Yeah, I have no idea. But anyway, yeah, that's a long-winded answer to your question. And then I also have, um, it's I know where it is, but it's not within reach without getting up. But from I believe it's 0506 Black Diamond, a two-color LA Kings jersey card of Gretzky as well.
Nice. That's awesome.
So yeah,
that's really great. So
like you said, obviously the Oilers is what everyone, it just feels a little bit more special.
It does. I mean, I've seen some cards now that I looked up this set from the Kings, just kind of listed online, and definitely desirable for sure. But the Oilers are just that next level, especially when looking at other game use cards, Gretzky, obviously. So especially since nowadays they're so scarce, and back then, especially around this time, like 03, 04, there was a lot of Gretzky material, and it made for some great cards around this time period. So I think this was the last big push, I would probably say before the lockout, and then like 0506 stuff, before things started to get very scarce with the Gretzky stuff. I think this was probably the last one or two sets to really like this year in particular, in a couple big sets to get those really nice Gretzky, patches and things like that. But and I think they did recently start using, because I knew they had, speaking of Upper Deck, I know they had like a equipment bag they used. And I think they got rid of most of that, if everything. And then I believe now they have Gretzky practice jersey that they use.
Correct.
So I don't know. I don't think they have any of this gamer left. And I believe there was one sold a couple of years ago. It might have been during the pandemic time, where even Upper Deck was sort of like, I don't even know if they bid on it, or they were just sort of like, it's not even worth really doing because it's just too expensive. So I don't know if you would really see this type of card again. I know with Leaf you would probably for a little bit while longer, some Oilers memorabilia, but for pictures as an Oiler, like some licensed game used cards like this, I don't know if you'd see that again really. So to pick something up like this numbered at a 75 is just, it's awesome. It just kind of, I saw the card, the price was right, and I'm just like, yeah, no, this has to happen. So that's just kind of what my thinking was.
And again, we always love talking about this when it comes
The
to
show
the Expo,
cards.
when it comes to the National. This is a show pickup.
It is. It definitely is. They're those kind of cards for those who haven't heard us talk about these before. Show cards are, and we've all had them, if you've been to a show where, there's so much cards out there that, we think not that we didn't know this card existed or this set existed or anything like that, but, I guess you just get too distracted by, what you're collecting day to day, or just financially. We can't be kind of on the lookout for everything all the time. And then you see a card at a show that, you know, it doesn't have to be for like a main collection, but a card that, these type of cards, whether it be a key rookie card or whatever it is, belong in sort of everyone's collection, if that makes sense. Like those type of, iconic sort of, players or anything like that, that I think would fit in probably everybody's collection. Things like a Gretzky rookie, where it's like, you can give this card to anybody and it's like, yeah, I can find a place for this. It's just something that, I think pretty much universally everyone sort of gets. And so, a lot of the times, it's things like that, or it's something that, you didn't really know you wanted, or like a new set you might want to, achieve, but like something is just sparked, when you see that card at the show and you're like, I didn't think I'd find one. It wasn't on my radar, but I'm picking this one up and this is like a special card. So those is what we would call show cards, where you're not really expecting to get it. But you see it and you're like, yep, like this is just, it's not about making a deal or anything like that. If I can get it for the right price, yes or no. It's sort of like, nope, yep, this has to come home with me. It's one of those things. They're show cards. So you just see it and then you want it. So this was definitely, like I said, the case for me. And they're really cool cards when that kind of happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually kind of how I got my start on that 99 2000 Black Diamond stick set. Is I forget what year it was, maybe like 2013, 2015 ish, somewhere around there at the National. Back in the good old days, Dave and Adams had just table after table of like, not like necessarily dollar boxes, but like kind of low to mid end boxes, and they had a lot of hockey back at the time. They don't do it anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, back at whatever it was, the 2015 National or something, I spent a lot of time digging through those and found the Madonna and Solani from that set. That have really nice stick pieces, and I was like, these are just really cool cards. Like, it's not something I would have ever sought out on my own, but just seeing them in person, it's like, that's a really cool card. I really like it. Fair price. I'm going to grab it. So, um, maybe for you, it's a little different with this Gretzky, knowing, hey, I really want to pick one up. Not necessarily this exact card, but just I would like to pick up a Gretzky Oilers jersey card at some point. And maybe not actively pursuing it on a
No,
daily
it's just
basis.
sort of like in the
But
back of your mind being like, it
right,
would be nice to have one again, but like if 10 years gone by and I didn't pick one up, it's like, it is what it is. But again, these show cards kind of come out of nowhere. And, you see a bunch of Gretzky cards everywhere, but this is one where, fair price. It was a simple card. It was an era of hockey cards that I really appreciate. A nice blue swatch, Oilers, picture on the front there. It just worked. And yeah, I'm like, yep, that's the one. And just, it's meant to be, I guess.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I love 0304, but
Oh, I know.
um,
I know.
just the even 0304 SP Game Used in particular was just a very,
It was.
very nice product, really loaded with all kinds of great memorabilia. This no different. I really love the photo on this card, just kind of that almost like a regal type of look with Gretzky in action there. And then, of course, that iconic Oilers blue mesh jersey material
Yeah.
is just awesome. So, and then, add in the fact it's out of 75.
Oh, yeah. Like under 100, I'm taking that all day.
Yeah, not that it's incredibly limited, but at the same
No,
point, there's not a ton of them out there. So,
definitely not.
yeah. So yeah, I was really pumped to see that you grabbed that card, and of
And
course, like I
out of
knew
all
where.
cards that you have, like, what was your first reaction when, like, I'm like, I sent you that picture, and I'm like, this is a pretty big card. Well, for me anyway. I'm not
Hmm.
a high end collector as you guys are, well aware of. But cards like these, it's like it's a big deal. It might not seem like much in this very, you know, I guess especially in the age of like social media where all those big heavy hitting cards kind of dominate the social space. But for me, this is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy a lot of Enroth cards with that money.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can. So, and obviously, to get one that you have was hilarious to me. I can only imagine your reaction when it's like, oh, it had to be that card. Copying it.
It did make me smile, that's for sure. And I know, we were texting about it, and I got my copy back in the spring of 2020 before things really took off price wise. So I think I got mine back then for probably like 20 or $25 or something. Obviously,
Oh,
they're
no way, really? That
they're yeah,
even pre-COVID is like a really good price.
yeah. So
That's like very good.
obviously they're a fair bit more than that
Oh,
nowadays, but
100%. 100%.
yeah.
It's a
So
great price in it of itself.
yeah, so when you showed it to me, I was like, I'm glad you grabbed one of those because it's a sweet card for sure. So, and it's kind of funny. I mean, we have a few of these cards over the years where one of us has one and then the other one gets one accidentally,
Accidentally
or
on purpose, or actually, like in this case, a truly accidental thing,
mhm,
or whatever it is. So,
or conversely very intentional where, oh, I like that card, I'm going to go pick that up. Like I think of the Flurry 1920 stature red
yeah.
parallel. You going out and picking up the base version of this the other
Yeah.
day. um, yeah, so it's kind of fun how we've kind of had a few of those cards over the years that are like that.
Exactly. It's super fun. So yeah, and this card's no different. So yeah, like that was obviously my big purchase for. So that was my big purchase for the expo. So yeah, it's great. So yeah, nothing much more on my end to say about that, but it's a great card.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm always curious hearing, not just the pickup stories and everything, but I was glad to hear you talk about the layout a little bit too, just
Yep.
because, maybe it's not something that most people go into the expo thinking about too much, or things like that, but it does kind of have a big impact on your experience at the show. And
Does, yeah.
I know that that hallway that you've mentioned, that they had used a few, the last handful ish of shows or
They
3 or 4
usually do
shows.
use it. Yeah, it's been a while. They've always
Mhm.
used the hallway there, except for 1 year, or I think it did add the hallway too, but I think it was coming out of COVID. They had this extra room that they used 1 year, and it was very poorly advertised. And so there
Mhm.
was apparently another whole room of, booths that me and some other collectors just didn't even know existed. So the layout definitely plays a big part, because yeah, depending on where you're located, especially as like a vendor, it's very, it's make or break for some people. So yeah, it was overall, I think it was a busy layout, but I think it was, as far as being able to take a good walk and see everybody, I think it was, um, you know very appreciated. I think from both sides. But I'll wait to see like other people's opinion, and if you have one, definitely feel free to share it for sure. But I think for me it was very balanced, but like I said, busy to navigate. But I think for you know helped out both sides.
Yeah, for sure. And I know I've seen people online talk about that hallway at previous shows and kind of saying, I don't know if I really like that. So it is, whether it was out of necessity with other things or if they just took the feedback and said, people don't like this, let's get rid of it. Either way, it's good to see that they're willing to make changes and things like that. One other question I had for you, I know at least back in the spring, people were not thrilled about how long it took to park and get in. So I would love to hear about your experience with that.
Oh, parking sucks. I hate it so much. It's the worst. I mean, I've been to both as a a vendor, um, setting up at a show, and obviously as a guy just walking around to a couple shows at the international center there, both for the expo and other shows that they've had there. So for expo weekend, it is especially on the Saturday. It's just a next level of crazy. It is just insane. So maybe for those who have been to other shows at the international center but haven't been to an expo, it's definitely 10 times the crazy, especially on a Saturday, because you got all the families coming out, and everything like that, which is great, and definitely the demographic there is all different ages, and just everybody is there, and it's fantastic. I love that. Definitely shows the true kind of scope of the hobby and who's kind of involved in it, which is fantastic. I love seeing that. I really do, like people walking in and out and just being like, man, like everyone's here. And that's really, really great, just for the health of the hobby. So I really appreciate that. But, my kind of monkey brain hates it because there's so much people. It's so bad to park. So I remember 1 year it was extra crazy. I'm always afraid that it'll be back to that, but I think it was like 2019 or something. And for whatever reason, they closed down a couple of the entrances. And so you could only go through one way. And even if you're coming from the opposite end, you couldn't even turn left into that one way. And so you had to like circle around. I remember it taking like over an hour just to get in, like let alone find parking. So I'm always afraid that it's going to end up like that again. Thankfully, it has not. But, so they've been a little bit better since that catastrophe. But, I had to go around and park at hall number 5 and then walk to hall number 2. Bit of a walk, but, it is what it is. So, there is parking, but you got to really search for it. And yeah, so definitely, for those who haven't been to the expo or are thinking about it next year, definitely, go as early as possible. And try and just scope out a parking spot or just bribe someone or something, because that's the only way you're getting a spot fast. I mean, that would be my only advice.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is at the National in Chicago. There's kind of like a back parking lot that only I
Yeah,
think has like 300 spots or something, so it fills up very quickly. But if you can get in that lot, in that garage, it is like prime. But if you don't, then you have to go across the street to the giant one, and who knows how long it'll take for you to find a spot, and then walk all the way to the front of the garage, get downstairs to street level, and then you have to cross a busy street to get to the convention center. So it's kind of a whole process. But yeah, I always try to get there early enough on whatever day it is to get in that back garage if possible. But it's kind of like 50-50 whether you make it in or not. Because it's kind of like you have to know it's back there because like it's just not apparent and there's not like a whole lot of signage for it. So I think that helps your chances if people don't know what they're doing. They just go to the main garage. But um, yeah, anyway, we're here to talk about the expo, not the national. So, um, but yeah, obviously, I'm glad that you had a successful, encounter at the expo this year, even if it was just one day. I know usually you go 2 days at
I
least, but
usually go the two. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So, but hey, I mean, you made the most of your one day, and obviously picking up a sweet card like that Gretzky is awesome. Yeah, obviously I didn't go, so I don't have too much to add. But is there anything else you want to touch on with the expo before we wrap things up?
no, I'm good. I mean, hopefully everyone else enjoyed their time at the expo. I mean, it's always really cool around this time. You're seeing everyone's posts and videos of all the cool cards that they picked up. So if anyone has any expo pickups they want to share with us, definitely share it through our social media channels, and we'll definitely throw it up in our stories, and give you guys the credit. Just tag us in your photos, or just message us, and we'll definitely give you the love if we can. So I'm sure you guys picked up some awesome things, and one day we'll get Eric down here for the expo. I'm sure we can figure something out. I'm not too far from the expo, so hopefully save you money on some hotels or anything like that. But we'll figure it out.
One of these years, yeah.
It's great.
A lot of you guys might know Kurt Johnson. We were just texting or messaging the other day, um, and he used to go to the expo all the time, but it's been a number of years. So he lives up in Minnesota, and he was like, "Yeah, maybe one of these years I'll just pick you up on my way, and we'll carpool and make it a
That's
road
true.
trip." And
That's true.
so we'll see. We'll see. It might happen, but
That would be great.
yeah, I would love to get up there. But kind of, I guess I'll throw this in as a tidbit for a teaser for a future episode. But you don't actually have to go to the expo to make expo pickups. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
So
All right. I do know. I mean, as secretive as you are, unless you picked up anything different,
no, just the one.
I do know what this is about, and let's just say it's worth the wait. That's for sure. So I'll let another, maybe next episode, for that mail day there. So we'll see, but I'll let you do the unveiling and everything like that. But for those listening, you know, definitely stay tuned. It's a great pickup and
Yeah.
topics to cover next time. So we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll see. It probably won't be next time. I know it has to change hands first and then get shipped to me, and then so yeah, it'll probably be more toward the end of the year if I had to guess.
It's a good way to end it. That's
Um,
okay.
but yeah, as long as it's at the end of before the end of the year, it'll make its way into my top 10 pickups for the year for sure.
Perfect.
So yeah, we'll see what happens, but gives you something a little something to look forward to. So yeah, so we'll wrap it up at that. For everybody that tuned in live, we appreciate it, and for those listening after the fact, we of course always appreciate that as well. We haven't said this before, but obviously now with us doing this in a live format, if you guys do watch on YouTube, go ahead and make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon, because that will alert you when we schedule these live shows, and I think we'll remind you when we go live as well. So that'll just help, to make sure that you don't miss any episodes that way. In addition to, of course, we still put things up on the podcast platform, so you can still listen, in the same way that you always have before. But just a little bit of an extra or different option there with the live format that we have started doing over the last few episodes, and we'll continue with moving forward. So, yeah, I will leave it at that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing about Aaron's Expo experience. I know I always do. Makes me jealous every single time. So one of these years, I'll get my act together and get up there. But yeah. So yeah, like I said, we'll leave it at that. We'll keep it to right around an hour, as we usually kind of have tried to historically. We've been a little bit longer over the last couple episodes, but we'll get back to the norm here. And yeah, leave it at that. So as always, please be sure to follow us on social media. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Sunrise Cardcast, and on Twitter at SunriseCC. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Sunrise Cardcast, keep collecting those hockey cards.